Hi, everyone. Happy Friday. Thank you for coming in and for joining us today. My name is Florence Akpan. I'm the founder and lead consultant at InfoPlace Canada, an immigration consulting firm helping clients, immigrants from around the world looking to come to Canada temporarily or permanently. And I have with me today Marina Isiri, who is a Nigerian born Canadian who lives in Saskatoon. She's the creative lead at Marina Isiri Consult and the friendly face behind her amazing YouTube channel. And today we're going to be talking about coming to Canada with your children. So, Marina, thank you so much for joining me. How are
Thank
you
you.
doing today?
I'm very well, thank you. Thank you so much for having me, and thank you everyone for joining us today.
Awesome, awesome. So we have lots of things to talk about today. If you're joining, I just want to make sure that you can hear us. Please tell us where you're joining from. Um, Tell us what you're looking forward to the most in our session today. Just let us know before we get started here. I just want to know how things are going. So, Marina, how has your week been?
Oh, long week. I'm glad it's Friday. Yeah, had quite a bit to cover both on the professional and on the personal end. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm just happy that end of the week I can wind down from here. I'm
Yes,
not working for the rest of the day, so
that's
after
good.
this my
After
work
this,
week is done. Yeah.
that's good. That's awesome. That's really good. Well, my week has been busy as usual. We're getting really close to when school is starting, and a lot of while we've had a lot of students and people get the approvals and come, we still have a lot because, as you all know, there's a lot of backlog with Canadian immigration right now. We still have a lot of students that we're scrambling and trying, just hoping that those decisions come on time for students. So it's been kind of a heavy week, especially for those ones that are not able to make it. But so far, so good. And I'm honestly happy it's Friday as well. And I'm glad that we're having this conversation today. So, hi, Rina from Lagos. Hi, Eukaria. Hi, Tamar from Bauchi, Nigeria. Adorable, crypto crazy. Thank you all so much for joining. I want to know the easiest way to immigrate with kids. Lots of good questions just picking up right there. Okay, we're going to get into it. The session today is really about immigrating, moving to Canada with your family. And the word immigrate most of the time refers to something being permanent. But you can come, be it temporarily or permanently, to Canada with your children. And Marina and I will be talking about those. Most of the conversation would be, of course, around what it's like what you need to do to move. In there, I'm going to also throw in the immigration side of things, what you need to do, what are the pathways that you can come with your children to Canada and things like that. But we're going to get started here with Marina. How did you and your family immigrate to Canada? And would you say it was worth it?
Hmm. I'll answer the second question first. Would I say it was
Yes.
worth it?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, absolutely worth it. Um, so let me do a quick introduction for the people who may not have seen my channel, for the people who may be meeting me for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
My name is Marina Yeme Eteng, but you may know me from YouTube as Marina Isiri. Isiri is actually my middle name, not my last name. So my husband is not Mr. Isiri. Okay. I just thought to put that there because I feel like every time I have to explain that
That,
actually he's not the one that took my last name.
it's not the
Isiri is
one that
my
took
own
your
name.
last name.
Okay. So it's Marina Iyeme Eteng. I'm a HR professional by day. That's what my day job is. On the side, I run the YouTube channel Marina is Siri, and what I do there is to share information to make settling into life in Canada seamless for newcomers, for foreign trained professionals. I share a range of information that goes from career settlements, like getting back into your profession. I've shared the certification pathway for a number of professions. I talk about family, I talk about marriage, I talk about parenting. I throw in vlogs just so that you get to see me live this new life that I've started to live in Canada. And then I'm also the creative lead at Marina Isiri Consult. It's my newest baby, still undergoing a lot of organization and structuring. What that is going to do is provide customized consultation services for people who need it. So if you have personal questions you want to ask, if the content on my YouTube channel is a bit too general for you and you'd like more personalized one-on-one kind of information, I offer all of that consultation as well. How did I move to Canada? It was a tough
Mm-hmm.
decision getting me to get out of Nigeria. I'm just going to put that out there. My husband had a bit of a hard time getting me to that point where I actually became open to the idea of moving. Um,
Mm-hmm.
because I'm very pro Niger, I still am Nigerian to the core. I'm seeing some people
Mm-hmm.
saying greetings from Benin City, Kachiko me, my person. I was born and bred in Benin.
Oh,
I have very strong roots in Nigeria, so it was really tough. Getting me to come to that point where I'm like, you know what, actually, let's consider this. I think what the
wow.
game changer was for me was when I started having kids. And I had two not so pleasant experiences having both my children in Nigeria. The second one was even, it was tough. Like there were
Mm-hmm.
traumatic experiences for me. And that's where I started to warm up to the idea of, you know what, maybe it's time to just experience a system that works. It wasn't supposed to
Mm-hmm.
be a permanent arrangement. It was, you know what, it's always going to be home. If it doesn't work out, we're coming back, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So in 2014, I finally warmed up to the idea after my daughter was born the second time. The second delivery experience. After that experience, I warmed up to the idea. And in 2014, we took the chance and I applied through the Federal Skilled Worker Program. It wasn't Express Entry then. It was the
Mm-hmm.
paper-based one where
The
you had to fill like a
paper-based
bunch
one.
of paper like,
Wow.
and send it all the way from Nigeria. And if you forget to tick one box, they send the entire paper package to you. It was just a bunch
That's
of
right.
paper back and forth, painful process, and it was long, you know. So yeah, 2014 we applied. In 2015 we got the positive eligibility report, what would be an ITA now, I think,
Mm-hmm.
and then did medicals. And then in 2016, in March of 2016, the PR visa got issued and we landed in May of 2016. It's been
2016.
a bit of a journey since
Mm-hmm.
then, and but overall I would say it's been worth it.
That's really good. That's really good. That's amazing. So you actually even came before the express entry that a lot of people know then, and it would have
So
had
Express Entry started while I was still in Nigeria, but I
yeah,
applied
but you
before it.
already applied. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you applied through that. That the federal skilled worker at the time had a list. We would have on their website the list of occupations that could qualify. And
Mhm.
if you had work experience in that, then you would be able to submit an application and things like that. So that's really what that was. So
Yeah.
no, amazing, amazing introduction. And just really talking about that beginning, because a lot of people who are looking at immigration now just think that express entry has always been there. It's actually a pretty new program, and it is going through its own evolution as well, as I would call
True.
it, really. So that's awesome. That's great. And with your family coming, how old were your kids when 6 years ago when you moved?
So my son was 3, and my daughter had just turned 2 when we moved. So 3 and 2.
3 and 2. Okay,
Yeah, my
so
bosses
really.
now, bosses. Hard to believe that 6 years ago that woman was 2. She's
Was
like going on
two. Oh my
30 right now.
goodness. Oh my goodness. So when at that age, what like how did you, I mean, they were young, not to, would you say they were really aware that there was that big change that was happening? No.
Absolutely not.
Mm-hmm.
Especially for my son a bit, because he was
Mm-hmm.
in school in Nigeria. So after a while, he started to asking, so when are we going home? When are we going back? When am I
Yeah.
going back to school? And questions
Mm-hmm.
like that. But my daughter wasn't in school. She was barely even talking. So she didn't
Mm-hmm.
know.
So she did know. So
Completely
that
unaware.
so you
Yeah.
would probably say, because I have some clients who come with more older kids, slightly older kids, who some of the things I hear was like there's a lot of preparation that you have to do to prepare them because they're going to be leaving their friends and all of that. But there's also the other side of it where people don't always want to really share that they're traveling, they're moving, they're relocating. So it's such a tough fine point. Would you have anything to say about it, those little things that you have to do to even prepare the children? If they're not as young as the age where they don't know what's about to happen, that's fine. But if they
Mhm.
are the age that they have friends, they have connections that they built, what do you really do? What have you heard people doing?
Well, a couple of things. So I have a cousin who landed recently and she has teenage children who are like 15,
Hmm.
13. And from what I saw from her experience, they had those conversations. They had to tell them that, look, this is what we're trying to do. This is what is going to be. Of course, every change like that will come with that initial excitement phase. So the children
Mhm.
were initially excited with the, oh, we're going to experience something new.
New and
Oh, we're going to
different.
see
Yeah.
snow from the
Mhm.
movies we've seen. We're now going to experience it ourselves. So it was more of a lot of excitement on their end, right? But coming here, what I am now trying to do is to keep communication lines open even with my niece and my nephew. Sometimes I just sit them down like, okay, tell me about school. Are you making
Mhm.
friends? Tell me about this. What do you miss the most about Nigeria? Like we can have those conversations because of the relationship we have. So
Yeah.
that's something that I would advise parents who have older kids. As much as you don't want people to know you're traveling, I think it's worth having a conversation with them to say, hey, there are some conversations that should remain within our family, and this is one of them if you don't want that information to come out. But
Mhm.
it is absolutely important to have those conversations with them, let them know that something is going to change, because what we do as parents, we make this move and make all the decisions on their behalf, and then we're telling ourselves that we're doing it because we want better life for them. But we need to
Mhm.
be able to stop and ask ourselves, what does better life actually mean? What does that look like for me?
Mhm.
What does it look like for the kids?
For the kids.
Because to you, you're taking them to this system where things work. The systems are, you can predict, you can plan
Mhm.
because the system is stable and it works. But for them, you're taking them away from their friends, you're taking them away from family, you're taking them away from grandparents, their favorite teachers, even pets, to bring them to this place where they come to school. They walk into the classroom and there are two other children who look like them,
Mhm.
or they can't relate with the experiences that people are sharing. Like when kids are
Mhm.
saying, oh, I watched this as a baby, they can't talk about the things they watch as babies because nobody else can relate.
Mhm.
So if you put all of that in context, you will realize that what you call better life, because you have a broader point of view, you
Perspective.
know
Yeah.
that down the line it's a
It
good
will
thing
be.
you're trying to do for them. But right now, right here, the kid doesn't have that line of vision. So what you call better life is torture for them. What
Mhm.
you are calling better life is you're taking them away from the things they actually like, and you're bringing them to this place where they don't understand anything. That's
Mhm.
why it's important to have that conversation. And the conversations are not just one off. You don't just have the conversation
One
before
day.
you arrive. When they come here, the excitement is going to die down for them as well. Now they have seen the snow. Now that they have seen all the things that they have seen in movies, then what? You
Mhm.
need to be able to keep those line of conversations open so that from time to time you can check how they're feeling, and then when anything changes, you would notice and you can provide to them the help that they need. So yes, it's
Absolutely.
absolutely important to have those conversations and keep the line of communication open.
No, that's really really good. Those are really really good feedback there and comments around it, because it's even like I have kids as well. I mean, they were all born here, but it's kind of still the same thing. Even when you're trying to take them somewhere, like if we're going on a vacation or something, we have to give them heads up, prepare their minds, because one of the things growing up that always happened to us was decisions were always made. You were not carried along; it was just
True.
thrown at you. But over here, it's something that is very different, where there's that open communication. You're carrying them along in their own little minds and how they can understand. So I think it's really, really key to that successful transition as well for the
Absolutely.
families and for the friends, so that they know, are they going to go back to see them? Are they going to visit? How long might
Yeah.
this be? And things like that, so that you could start managing those expectations. And I find that once the kids know that that's what it's going to be about, they are able to figure out a way to cope with it and adjust with it as
True.
well and keep that
True.
excitement going. Yeah. So,
Absolutely. We
mhm,
underestimate how quickly children can adjust to things. We
yes.
assume that they won't understand,
Hmm.
so we shield them from it. But
Yeah.
take a chance, explain something to them, and it will shock you how quickly they run with it. Like
Yeah.
that's what I'm seeing right now. When I
Hmm.
get my children involved in the decisions, get them involved and help them understand the why. Why are we doing
Exactly.
what we're doing? Like for us, my kids have only attended one school in Canada. It's this new school year that they are going to be attending a new school for the first time. I tried to change the school 2 years ago and it was no, not happening. I
Yeah.
tried to explain to them, and my kids had reasons, especially my son, fantastic negotiator. Sometimes I wonder, like, wait, who is this? Where did you come from? He gave me reasons why, mom, I don't think I'm ready to change school. And honestly, I saw reason with him and I didn't change the school. When it
Hmm.
was time for us to revisit the conversation, I went back to him and said, hey, because of this is now happening, this is going to change. It's
Mm-hmm.
now a good time for us to revisit this conversation of changing schools. It was a tough one, but eventually
Yes,
we're going to change school because they understand the why. Now I
exactly.
overhear their conversations when maybe one person is frustrated, like, I'm really anxious about changing school. I hear the other person saying, but you know that mommy has explained the reason, or our daddy has explained the reason why. This is why. Don't worry, I'll be there with you. They encourage each
Mm-hmm.
other
They're
now. They
encouraging
don't
each
come to
other.
me.
Mm-hmm.
They no longer come to me with the I'm frustrated, I have to change school. They understand and they are both running with the reasons now. So we underestimate that a lot. Children are
Yes.
much more are capable of a lot more than we give them.
Yes, they are. And it's what is just such a big, and we're going to talk about that here. Probably it's such a great segue into the next question here, because it has to do with how we were brought up. Like we're both Nigerians, and it was
Mhm.
literally like this is the way you wake up, you're going. Like there wasn't that collaborative communication, and even
Absolutely.
allowing you to start asking those questions, because those are really valid questions to ask, and it allows you question the world around you and the things that are happening. So really, really good. But as we talk about that, having those conversations, that's different way of upbringing, that's a different way of nurturing children and things like that. How would you say your children were 3 and 2 when you were moving? You said your son was already in school, I believe.
Mhm.
Well, so that would be more like kindergarten, I'm assuming.
Yes.
But what would you say was really its difference with the schooling system that you know of in Nigeria or in Africa versus what you've been experiencing in Canada so far?
So it's different. I'm going to share from my experience and the experience of people who are in my circle who had children in who had much older children when they moved. So I'm just
Mm-hmm.
putting them side by side.
Fine. Yeah.
So the system in Nigeria is very, for lack of a better way to explain this, a bit aggressive. With
Mm-hmm.
children, the what they are doing. My son was already counting like 1 to 100 at 3. He
Mm-hmm.
knew so much, like because of what they were exposing them to in school. The course load was a lot for a 3 year old. At that point, I didn't see anything off with it. It didn't seem like there was anything wrong because he could handle it. And my son was really smart. At some point, he was doing work in for class for children in classes above his own class.
Mm-hmm.
The teachers would tell me like, oh, they tested him on this, but he just didn't
Mm-hmm.
stop where the kids in his class would stop. So they let him
Mm-hmm.
keep going and he kept going. That's what's different in Canada. They don't ever put you in a position where you're doing a lot much more than what is expected of your grade. The first shocker that I see happens to a lot of people is when they come here and the children have to go to classes that are less than where they're coming from. The main reason is the age. So in Canada, you have to be at least 6 years old to get into grade 1. In Nigeria, my son, if we had continued, he would have been in grade 1 at maybe 4 or 5.
Yeah.
Here, they are very strict with the ages of children. So they will
Mm-hmm.
put you in the same class as the people in your age range,
Age
not
group. Yeah.
necessarily because you have been in grade 5 and you are 6 years old. You will come back to where 6 year old children are in Canada. So that's one thing that really shocks a lot of people.
Oh
Like, why did you have
wow.
to step back? But the education here is holistic. They don't
Yes.
just consider the academic part, they also consider like the social part. They also consider like your behavioral development. That's what I didn't really see in Nigeria. Nigeria was it was a lot of the dependencies on how much can you handle, how smart are you, what class can you be in, keep going.
Mm-hmm. Keep
But
going.
here, there's the yes, you're
Overall.
smart. They have to consider it holistically. So they'll put you in a class that you must be in the same class with people in your age range because that social development is very important.
Very
And also,
important.
you don't want to put your kids in the classes where the people in the class are significantly older than them. That's where things like bullying and things now thrive. Do you understand
Yes.
what I mean? So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that's one major difference I've seen. The education here is a lot more holistic. The volume of work is not as aggressive. I've heard people say they don't give homework in this Canada. My sister, and so is yeah. They don't give a lot of
Absolutely.
homework. They don't
Yeah.
bombard the children. They give them room to just develop and play and be
The kids.
kids.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Just be kids, like breathe, learn
Mm-hmm.
about life. And the way they do things here, they teach them in a way that you're not just being told, you're not assessed on how you can repeat what you have been told. It's more on the application of what you have been told.
I've been told.
If they
Yeah.
teach you something, how are you able to replicate it? How do you see this in your everyday life? That's what
Yeah.
I've seen. Some
Yeah.
people have a problem with that, to say the children become laid back, they're not as smart as they are because they can no longer do 1 to 10,000 as a 4-year old. you know?
I know. I think there was we actually had a question once on Instagram where my social media folks forwarded it to me, and this person was asking, really being concerned, a concerned parent, just asking. My children are coming from Corona school where the standard of education was this top, this number of assignments every day, but this one the kids are playing. They have 3 recesses every day. Like, I'm concerned that the quality of education in Canada is really poor and all of that. And I was like, this is a tough one, at that moment I realized how different it is. Because of course that's how we were brought up. That's how we grew. And I watch my children when they go to school, and it's literally just all learn and play. Like, they're playing so much, everything is through play and all of that. But you find that over time they're actually learning, and the way
They
they are
are
learning is
learning.
actually sticking a whole lot more, and they catch on. Like, it's and I think for me, I always look back and I'm like, but it's the country that we're all moving to. This is how they've been raising and
True.
taking, like, educating and things like that. Something about their method must be it must be effective, that it's delivering
True.
result, that when those students grow, they become well-rounded is the biggest thing, because it's not
Yeah.
just about school, it's about how they respect people, how they care for people, how they're coping. When you have those conferences, like parents teachers here, but it's called conferences, with them they're talking about, oh, this person, like, they're talking about how they're coping with different things that happen, how
True.
they're playing, their social skills and things like that. So it's really, really important, and I think that's the big difference that people should be aware of. But it was really nice that you brought up that going back depending on your age, because I remember growing up in Nigeria, there would be people that are 10 and already in grade 6.
Yeah.
So if you come here, then it's a whole reversal, and that's something too that parents should probably look into and prepare their children that might be happening. It doesn't mean that you just became dumb or whatever and got pushed back. It's just the
Mhm.
system here. It's different and wants that to be different and all. Okay, perfect. So it's good that your kids came when they were not quite school age, because the next question is about childcare in Canada. What was your experience coming in here and finding childcare for your children?
That one, I think, was one of the biggest shockers for me because
Yep.
when I lived in Nigeria, my sister was living with me. I had a paid living help. I had my cousin who was also living with me. So
Mm-hmm.
I could get back from work, like pick up Jeremy or my son from school on my way back from work, take him home, open the door, make sure he has gotten inside the house, turn around, go back in my car, and go and watch a movie with my friend on a weeknight.
Love
You know,
Street.
so
Love
I had that kind of support. Like, I don't
Mm-hmm.
remember the last time I did dishes or washed the bathroom, or all those things were alien to me because I had help. I had paid people who were doing that work.
Mm-hmm.
So you can imagine my shock when I came to this country and realized that you can actually put a cup on the table, go around the city and come back, and the cup is sitting there nice and pretty waiting for you.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody's touching it.
Nobody.
It was a bit of a shocker, like having to do all of these things myself, and then the cost of childcare.
Hmm.
The cost of, and the younger kids are, the more
The more
expensive it
expensive.
is. So
Yeah.
having two kids, age 3 and 2, it was a bit of a shocker. Just
Yeah.
knowing that if I tell my mother how much I'm paying for childcare, this woman can pack a bag and say, "Give me the money, I'll come.
It's like,
I'll
I'm
come
coming
and do
over.
it."
Let me come pay me.
So that's a tough adjustment for people to make. I couldn't, for the first couple of months, I didn't have a job, so I could stay at home. But when I now knew that, okay, I was going to go to school like in the fall of that year, I had to start to search in advance to say, where am I going to find options or where my kids can go? So, of course, the wait lists are usually very long.
Very long.
I started to search in like July, and thankfully, I think at the end of August, we were able to get in somewhere. It was expensive. It was expensive, but because I wasn't working at the time, we could apply and get some kind of government subsidy to cover
Subsidy,
some of
yeah.
the cost
Mm-hmm.
of childcare. So we did that for about a year. But as I started working, of course, the more you earn, the reduce the subsidy reduces so drastically. At some
Mm-hmm.
point, they took it off completely because my husband and I were working. And then a teacher in my kids' school actually told me that you can actually consider private options, like people who run day homes from out of
Mm-hmm.
their homes. You cannot access subsidies through those day homes, but sometimes the amount of money you pay even after the subsidy can still be more than what a day home will charge.
Will
So I
charge.
considered options and realized that okay, actually the day home is much cheaper for us. I did my findings, did my own due diligence, and I
Yeah.
found a day home that worked, and the cost was significantly lower. So that's how we managed that. We did the licensed childcare centers for about a year, and then switched to like the day homes until
Mm-hmm.
now that my children no longer need childcare. Praise God.
It's like a celebration when
Oh my
my
God.
last child just left daycare. It's big because it's like
Yeah,
a huge chunk of money probably back redirected somewhere else. You
absolutely.
talk about how difficult it was, and I want to tell people here too that even living here, it's very difficult to find childcare, not just when you come in. When I was expecting my son, I had to put him on a wait list before he was
He was
born.
born. I see that a lot.
Literally, there was no name. I just put baby Akpan on the list. Guess what? He did not get childcare in the license center that we wanted him to go to until 18 months after he was born. So I did start at a day home as well because it was at that point I had to go back to work after a year and
Mhm.
he needed to be in daycare and there was no other option. Like the centers I had my name on didn't call. So we just had to pick one. And it was 18 months, 6 months in was when we eventually got it. So if you're coming and you already know the area you're going to live in, the place, and all of that, and you have young kids, it would not hurt to actually start looking into registering and putting your name on some waiting list and things like that so that you can actually secure a spot in some places. Like Marina said, they're day homes, but make sure some of those day homes too actually go through the licensing process to get
True.
some things, get certified. Make sure that you find the right ones that have those things as
Yeah.
well. Okay, perfect. And then sometimes with those, remember those day homes also run the normal official hours.
True
So
that.
if you're now taking a job that requires you to work in the evenings, then you now have to explore the option of looking for babysitters who will come like more after hours and things like that to sit your children. So when students are coming or even if new immigrants immigrating to Canada, sometimes the question we get asked is how am I going? How easy would it be for me to combine working and my children and all of that? It really depends on what you get. It really depends on how much that job is paying you versus how much you're going to be paying to childcare,
True.
the
Very much.
timing of the work, and all of that. So there's a lot of things that you will have to take into consideration. And it's one of the reasons why we always tell our clients come with enough money because, especially if your plan is to go to school, you may not have time and enough, it might not give you enough to go to school and take care of the children and all of that. So just to
Yeah,
manage those expectations properly as
absolutely.
well.
There's one other thing I'd like to add to that I would say really helped me. It was the importance of a support system.
Yes.
People are still making the mistake of landing in a place like Canada and just saying, I just want to get my job, I just want to do this and just mind my business. You're shooting yourself in the foot. There's so much that we can do if you would just be a little more open and a little more accepting and a little more collaborative in our approach. When
Yes.
we landed, what I was doing, the apartment that we lived in, there was another Nigerian, our friends, who lived
Mm-hmm.
maybe like 2 floors above
Above.
us. When
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't get a job for the first few months, what I was doing, because the other families around me, because they had, some of them landed before we did, I
Mm-hmm.
would volunteer to take their kids to say, what are you doing? If you need to go to the store, because imagine how frustrating it is if you have to go to the store to get one jar of milk. You're taking two children,
Full family.
dragging two and 3 year olds in the store. It can
Yeah.
be a lot. And you can't just say, let me go to the store, leave them in the car. That's major trouble. So I would
Mm-hmm.
ask them, like, if you ever need to dash out to the store, I'm at home, bring the kids, I'll watch them. So I volunteered. There were more Nigerians who were now moving into the apartment building. And I would do that to all of them. Like when my kids have birthdays, I'm going from door to door saying, bring your kids down.
Bring your kids
Parents, take
down.
take a break. I will watch them.
I'll
I
watch
was
them.
doing that. So when I was in the position where I needed somebody to watch my kids, I had options. There were people who were then willing to say, you bring them,
You
you
bring
take a
them.
break.
Yeah,
I put myself on the line because I was looking for relationship, not just to give those parents a break. My kids needed friends as well.
exactly.
They needed to be able to play with children who were like them in the same age range, had the same energy levels.
Mm-hmm.
And I understand that. Sometimes in school, in daycare, the teachers don't really understand for a start. When you see a 3-year-old hyperactive Nigerian kid, a
Mm-hmm.
Nigerian mom or a Nigerian parent knows what to do there. But for the teacher in school, if the kids doesn't follow all those boxes that they have been trained to use
Mm-hmm.
to access, you now start to hear the labels that come like, okay, maybe there's a behavioral problem here. No,
Yes,
it's just a hyperactive Nigerian kid. He just needs room
exactly.
to play. He eats
Mm-hmm.
sugar. Our food has sugar. It's the sugar
Exactly.
that is showing up. As a Nigerian parent, I understand that,
You
but the
understand.
teachers may not understand that from the get-go. So the importance of a support system, I cannot underestimate. Look for people who have kids who are in the same age range as yours. Make friends with them. Sometimes take their kids. So the day you need help, they will not tell you, no, I can't. Build
Mm-hmm.
those relationships. That's how we survive. Because if you're going to hire a babysitter for every time you're working after hours, you just be working and handing the money to the babysitter.
To
That's
the
it.
babysitter. Yeah,
So
absolutely.
leverage the relationships in your personal network.
That's very good.
Intentionally try to make friends so that you can, or you guys can piggyback on each other.
On
Because
each other.
aside
It's
that, you will just work and give all of it away.
Yeah. No, thank you so much for mentioning that because that is so important. Those networks, those support for to help you and even for the kids as well to make friends as they're going along. That's really, really great. You talked about you kind of alluded to it a little bit there where you said that you're changing schools for your children for this first time. Could you share a little bit about what the register like for people that are just coming into Canada for the first time? What do they need to know about what school and how the school system in Canada works for young children?
Okay, so it totally depends on what your preference is.
Mm-hmm.
Canada basically has it broken down into like three broad categories. The schools can either be private. Private schools are run by like churches or like religious institutions. They
Religious
have
institution. Yeah.
private schools. Even some Muslim schools can be private as well. And then
Mm-hmm.
the more common ones are like the public and the Catholic.
Catholic.
The Catholic school system, I find that a lot of Nigerian immigrants, from what I've seen, tilt more towards that direction because I mean, we come from a society that has a strong religious undertone, so
Yeah.
people tilt more towards that.
Mm-hmm.
The public schools are the ones that, of course, like regular schools without the religious undertone.
Yeah.
So that's an option to consider as well. Their curriculums they're very similar. The school year is the same.
It's the
Everything is
same.
pretty much the same, except that for the Catholic schools, there's that religious undertone where the children will do prayers, they will
We'll
do
do
masses and
maths.
things like
Yeah.
that. And then even within the public and the private school system, there's also the French immersion system where from grade 1 to I think grade 8 or so, I'm not very sure, they
Mm-hmm.
do the same things, they just do it in French.
Yeah.
So by the time the children are graduating from high school, they're bilingual.
Yeah.
So that's an option people consider as well. My kids are not in French immersion. I had the option of getting them in French immersion because we're here before grade 1, but I struggled a bit with I'm a helicopter mom. I want to be involved in everything, and
Mm-hmm.
me not being a French speaking person just made it harder. Like, how am I going to be involved? Like, is it Duolingo or what do you want to use to be able to help me
Mm-hmm.
with assignments that's not in English? Even the
Yeah.
one in English, I'm struggling. Is the one that's now that's now in French.
Exactly.
I'm able to help them do. So that's the reason why we went for the English option. But that's what it is. Like the public, the private, and then within that you can choose to do French immersion if you want. The registration process is pretty straightforward. For the Catholic option, depending on the age of the child, they have in Saskatoon, the school board that governs like the Catholic schools is the Greater Saskatoon Catholic Schools. You
Mm-hmm.
just go into their office and do a one-time registration. So that's
Yeah.
the only time you do it. As a newcomer, you do that one-time registration, and after that, they just keep going into whatever grade it is they want to
It
go
is
to.
they want to go
For
to.
my kids, because we had done that one-time registration a while back, changing schools now is just going into the school that we now want, fill a couple of forms, send it back to the school. We didn't have to go to the school board because their details are already on file there. So it's a pretty straightforward process. They give you options. It's typically advisable that you have your kids go to school within where you live, Within every community, you will most likely find a
The
public
school,
and a Catholic school.
public
So
school, yeah.
most times they are side by side. You
Yeah,
find them in
most
the
of the time
same
they're side by
environment,
side.
side
Yeah.
by side. Yeah. So whatever option you choose to go to will be where you live because of things
Hmm.
like logistics and busing and things like that. So you don't
Yeah.
have to drive from one end of the city to another
City
end of
to
the city
another.
doing drop
Yeah.
off. So
Mhm.
yeah, very straightforward,
Very
straightforward
straightforward.
registration
Yeah.
process.
And yeah, and most of the times, if you don't necessarily know where you're going to live, that kind of determines it first. Where once you find where you're living, then that's the school. And if you like a particular school in a particular area, then you want to find a place to live around
To
there
live
so that
around
the
there. Yeah.
children can actually go there. So that's great. That's really good. And it kind of helps you plan as well in terms of even time to come. Like we have some of our clients who have been recently approved PR. And one of the things was when should they come? They wanted to come in October. We had a chat, and I said, you know what, if you can come, you're already approved. If you can come early, like in August, so then the kids are starting with the new school system, everybody's kind of new in a new class. It's just going to be such an easy transition for the
Mhm.
children as they're getting into school. So something to think about and plan as well. If you have the option, it's nice to come at the beginning of the school session. I think it would just really help with that transition. But of course, if not, if IRCC has given you a date you need to show up in Canada and you got that visa approved, please just show up. Don't worry about it. The kids will absolutely adjust. There's a question here. As students, do we have free education in Catholic school for the kids? So if you have questions, you could pop it in as we're chatting. If it's relating to what we're talking about, I'll put that up, and then Marina and I can help with responding to that. And please just note too that as I pop it on, your name kind of shows up on the screen as well. If you're not okay with that, then just let me know so then I can read out the question. But that particular question said, as students, do we have education? Do you have free education in Catholic school for kids, Marina?
You have free education, not just Catholic schools, I think public schools as well. For kids
Yes.
under a certain age,
Yeah.
they're able to go to school
All the way to
riding
high
on
school. Yeah.
your study permit. So
Yeah.
yes, that option is open.
Yeah. So as long as you, the parent, is you're an international student in Canada, your children would be able to go to school for free, so they don't have to pay any international fees. If you're sending them by themselves just for the purpose of them going to school, you will have to pay
You
international
will pay,
fees
yeah.
for them to attend school. So that's the difference in that. Okay. All right. So we're going to move right along. Services in school. So most times people come and they're not even aware of the types of services and benefits that are available. And I think even in my own experience here with children is as you're going, as they're growing, you're discovering things that are available and things like that. What have you found really helpful in the school systems here that are available that you think people should be aware of as they're coming with their children?
There are quite a bit of services that you can access. Some I find I don't know if it happens in other provinces, but in Saskatchewan, there's not a lot of information that's in your face, but you will find it if you go looking. Like
That's
you
right.
find out about things when you need them, not like
Yeah.
you will not stumble accidentally just stumble on anything that you don't need. That's what I'm finding. But
Mm-hmm.
for schools, they do a lot of programs that exposes the children to a lot of services. Like I know that there were times where they had doctors come to my kids' school to teach them about oral hygiene, and then they gave them
Mm.
like toothbrushes, dental
Mm-hmm.
floss, and then
Mm-hmm.
give everybody like a voucher that you can use to go and get like a free teeth cleaning. That's also
Yeah.
covered under the health insurance in Saskatchewan as well. So
Mm-hmm.
they do those things. Like once a year, you can go and get your teeth checked, you can get your eyes checked.
Checked.
The
Yeah.
school will prompt that. The schools
And ear
prompt that.
hearing
Your
ears
ears, yes.
ears checked as well. Yeah.
Yeah. And if you have kids who need extra attention, say like they need like speech therapy or they are concerns, teachers are trained. There's some things they look out for in classes. Sometimes
Yes.
can be misdiagnosed. That's where
Mm-hmm.
you as the parent comes in.
Come in.
Because sometimes when if you have an hyperactive child who is just naturally a restless person, sometimes a teacher can look at that and they can see symptoms of something on the spectrum. It
Mm-hmm.
may or may not be the reason why the child is hyperactive.
Yeah.
Sometimes they have gotten it right. Some other times they have gotten it wrong. It was just a little more patience that the children needed, not because they were on a spectrum. So all of those things, teachers will pay attention. If there's a need for them to call your attention to something, to say, hey, I think there might be a reason or a need to get this checked out, there may be something going on there, they will prompt you and they show you where you can find the resources as well. So if it turns out that you have a child who is on a spectrum or they need extra accommodation in class, all of those services they provide. Some
Mm-hmm.
of it as well, you can get through your family doctor.
Family doctor,
So if
healthcare.
you have any questions, that's where paying attention at home comes to play. Because as a
Yes.
parent, if you're not paying attention to these things, you will be confined to the information that somebody else gives you. So
Yes.
if a teacher sends you a report to say this child is very disorganized, they don't pay attention in class, they are always running around in class. If it's something you see at home, you'll be able to say, okay, I can to an extent agree, or this is the part
Mm-hmm.
I don't agree with. Like some right now, if somebody tells me that my son, oh, he's very disorganized in class, I'll say, no, you're describing another child, not my kid. Because I
Mm-hmm.
know I see it cannot how much of night and day can it
They
be?
can
It
it be?
can be
Yeah.
that bad, you know. So paying attention as well at home is very important as a parent. So that when they send you these reports, you can compare with what you have at home. And if there's truly a need for these additional services, you can take advantage of it or speak to your family doctor. But I
Mm-hmm.
find that with children, there's a lot more that they have access to. There's a lot of attention that goes into what they need. And if extra accommodation is needed, you can then now talk to the
Talk
school
to
and they
school.
make those provisions for accommodation. Because sometimes just changing the position of the class where the child sits in can make a
Can
difference.
make a difference. Yeah.
Yeah. If your child is the gang leader, like the leader of the group, you can't sit with us crew. All you have to do is
Yeah.
just switch the class around and you can see a difference. So all
Yeah.
of those things, the teachers pay attention and point you to what the extra help that they think the child will need. And
Yes.
that's something I really appreciate in the school system here, just the attention. And
The attention. Yes.
again, relationship with the teachers also come into play.
Mm-hmm.
Relationship with, between the parents and the
And the
school come
and the
into play.
school.
You want to
Yes.
be a present parent, you guys. I
Yes.
know that it can be tough as an immigrant. You're looking for a job, you're trying to go to school, but you need to put in this extra work. It is part of the adjustment that we make coming here. You must be a present parent. If you
Yes.
call for three-way teacher conference, you do not want to be the parent that's
The-
absent.
Exactly.
If there are things happening in the school, the children are having display or whatever it is, just show up. Even if it's
Show up.
15 minutes, show up.
Yeah.
Put a
Respond on
face
the
to your
apps.
name. Put a face to your name. Show up. If
Mm-hmm.
you're asking for parents to volunteer for things, from time to time, show up. Most of
Mm-hmm.
the schools have like boards where they invite parents to be members. From time to time, just go volunteer to join and see what's going on there, because some of the
It will help
decisions
you.
that affect your children are made in those places and you don't want to be absent. So
Yeah.
yeah,
No,
just
that's
sort of
really
to
good.
throw that in there is
Yes.
one other
Yes.
thing that we have to pay attention to.
No, that's really good. And no, in addition to that too, as you talked about that, I also want to also mention, because I remember a client of mine called me once and was like, "Oh, they're saying this about my child. They're saying my child needs this service, needs to do this." Like the parent was almost traumatized about what was recommended at school and things like that. And it's so important to be present and also understand your child. And sometimes when recommendations come, I don't. It's not to take it badly, or even not, it could be about a medical condition that they think about your child. It could also be about something your child has done. It is so important as a parent to be there for your child, to
True.
support them and everything. Because I remember once my son was in a before and after, just when he was in grade one. But at this time, I was still working full time and all of that. And there were complaints about, and the way the before and after was that it wasn't, he's always been in daycare where he was always with his age group. And for the first time, he was thrown into this big room with children from all ages. So I don't really know the details of what happened, but it was like, oh, he did this. He was rude to someone or so. I'm like, that's not my son, right? Because he doesn't do that. So even when those complaints come and your children come home, they want to know that you'll be there for them.
Mm-hmm.
Even though you go around at the back to go find out the details of what happened, you have to figure out that way of communicating with them, being there for them, supporting them, and also finding out the children, also correcting them as well. Because maybe they don't understand the reaction, what the reason why the child was reacting that way. Maybe there was something. Is really taking the time to understand that root cause of things before you actually jump to conclusion on anything like that. So don't take everything with a pinch of salt,
Mm-hmm.
but don't totally ignore it. You take it and try to make sure that you're working with the school system to give your child the best that they can get.
Absolutely. Totally
Perfect.
agree.
Yeah. Okay. We had a question on discrimination and bullying. Does it exist in Canada? And how do you prepare your kids for this?
Does it exist in Canada? Capital yes, it does.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
It shows up in different ways. Like discrimination and bullying can be from child to child, where
Mm-hmm.
they're bullied by other kids, and in some occasion, unfortunately, it has been from teacher to child.
Mm-hmm.
That's the one that not a lot of people talk about. We just talk about
Yes.
bullying, like other kids are picking on them.
Picking on
What
them.
then happens when it's the caregiver or the teacher
Yeah.
or the adult that
Mm-hmm.
you've trusted your kid to that is the bully?
It's
What
the
then do you do?
bullying. Yeah.
It still comes back to what is going on in your house. That's the first thing. That's the first place where we can tackle this from. My husband
Absolutely.
and I had a conversation recently, and I have a YouTube video on this too that we both did on how we handle the conversation of discrimination and bullying at home. A lot of it, we do the work at home. We're
Yes.
starting to have these conversations. My children are now at the age where they're aware, they can see visible differences.
That's
There was
right.
a day my son came home and said, "Oh, God made everybody, he made us different colors, but we're all the same on the inside." I was curious, like, where did that come from? Are you guys already
Mm-hmm.
talking about race and differences?
Mm-hmm.
And he said that one other kid in school was talking to another child, not to him, and said, God made everybody, but he made black people last. Children can be mean, they can say nasty stuff.
Yes, they
So my
can.
son was telling that person that God made all of us. He didn't make anybody last. We look all different on the outside, but we're all the same on the inside. He could do
Mm-hmm.
that because those were conversations that we had had at home. It was painful to have those conversations. I mean, I'm sad that these are conversations that we still have to have in 2022, but I mean,
Yes,
it's the world that we
unfortunately.
live in.
Yeah.
So we had to talk about it. Another day he came home and said, Mom, almost everybody in my class have a certain skin color. Why am I different? It was my cue to start another set of conversation, just talking
Conversation.
about differences, talk about our history, just talk about different things and let help him understand that you don't have to look like everybody else. You are amazing the way you are. Somebody told him once that his tan skin was dirty. I'm like, what? Come, let me tell you all the benefits of this melanin that is in your skin.
That's in your skin.
And the next time somebody told my son that, my son was like, well, I can't say what he said on camera, but it was not a bad thing. Though. He just stood up for himself.
Of course, of course. No,
He stood up for
absolutely.
himself and he was right because he told me, and I'm like, yeah, that's the truth, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So these are conversations we must tackle head on. They are tough conversations when it comes to things like adjusting to that part here. They are tough conversations because as a parent, if you are dealing with discrimination at work, the tendency to want to transfer the aggression to everybody who looks like those people who are discriminating you is high. But what you don't want to do is pass on that kind of hate silently to your children.
To your children.
You
Yeah.
don't want your
You
children
don't
to
want
see
to.
you talk down on, oh, those people, that's how they are. Because that's where racism starts from.
That's where it starts from the other
Who
home.
tells
Yeah.
a child to go to school and tell another kid that your tan skin is dirty? They heard it from somewhere. That was
Mm-hmm.
handed down from somewhere, consciously or unconsciously. So
Unconsciously. Yeah.
we need to be careful how we are projecting how we feel. Our children are watching. They are picking up on these things. So for
Mm-hmm.
us, we tackle the conversation head on, have the conversation with them, give them a voice within the house. If I'm going to teach my kid not to be a bully, I have to not be a bully as a parent.
Yeah.
Because some of us experience bullying from our parents. It was called
Mm-hmm.
discipline at the time, but if you put it in today's context, it is bullying.
Yeah.
So if I make my kids put up with bullying inside the house, where are they going to have the willpower to stand against bullying outside the
Bullying
house?
outside
Nowhere.
the house. Yeah.
So for us, what we started to do was get our kids involved. When they ask me why, instead of me to say because I say so, which is the Nigerian thing, that's what
You
the
can't.
Nigerian mom in me
They won't
wants to
even
hear. How
accept
dare
it.
you ask me? But then I have to realize that if they're asking why at home and I'm giving them these answers, they'll be able to ask why outside. So when somebody says, hey, come take this cigarette at school, do you want them to ask why in that context? Of course. So
Mm-hmm.
if you want them to ask why there, where are they going to practice? So we have
Exactly.
become the guinea pigs. They practice everything with us. We have whatever questions they have, we provide answers. There's no, we
Absolutely.
don't call, we don't, you Call it what it is. That's basically what I'm just trying to say. Have these conversations. Tell them, does it make you feel a certain way that you look different? And help them understand, like, okay, of course, this is why you look different. This is where we're
Different.
from. And people that are from this place, this is how they look.
Look this
Not
way.
everybody understands that. They don't understand. So they're going to run with things that are not correct. Somebody told my kid once in school that, oh, where you come from, the houses are built with wood, and there are no houses or something like that along those lines. The houses
Mhm.
are built with wood. I'm like, son, it is only in Canada I see that they build houses with wood. Though there are no houses in Nigeria. Come, let me
No,
show you something. I
let me
carried
show
my
you a
laptop
picture.
and just googled houses in Lagos, Nigeria, and showed my son. I'm like, what do you see? This is Lagos,
Mhm.
Nigeria. I showed him houses in Abuja, Nigeria. Arm them with facts. We don't have to
Exactly.
respond with emotions. Show them the fact so that
Facts.
when they're going back to say it, they can tell them. So the next time somebody tells him there are no houses in Nigeria, guess what? He's going to laugh in their face. Go on Google in the
Exactly.
school library and say, come, let me show you. That's the way
Exactly.
we can shut these things up, not emotional responses.
Not
When they
emotional.
when they tell you something, you go to school and fight. You just put a label on your kid. There's a time and place
Exactly.
for that. It's not the response for
Exactly.
everything.
Exactly. Exactly. No, absolutely. You definitely nailed that 100%. From it does exist, what you can do about it. And it really, really honestly starts from the home and really arming the children. And I think one of the ways I look at it is that we're putting them out there to, there's always going to be impressions and things about Africans and
True.
all of that. They being out there can change that impression if we have give them the right information and things like that. My kids are in some camp. There's a multicultural camp here in Regina this summer, and they're there. And my daughter came home yesterday and was so excited to sing the Nigerian anthem. I was just like, if I achieved anything this summer, that's just fantastic, because I never taught her. But now she knows how to look for it on YouTube and can sing along, just really strengthening where they're coming from and making
Yeah,
them proud of that. It may not always be the greatest back home and things like that, but there's so many great things about back home, and us being here is one of
absolutely.
that as well. So, in as much as most of the times as parents in conversations with our friends and things, we tend to really like, this is not working, that's not working, this could have been better, but we always forget all the great things that come out of
True.
Nigeria. So it's
And
very
Florence, that's
important.
something I think we should be careful about as well. The way we
Yes,
talk about Nigeria, especially as Nigerians in Canada.
in
I
Canada.
know a
Yeah.
couple of, I heard a story once of a parent who was trying to discipline their kid and said, if you do that again, I'll send you back to Nigeria. You're selling Nigeria as a place where you go to because of punishment. How
Hmm.
then do you think that person will be proud?
Look forward
If
to
that's
go
what
there.
you were doing, your daughter will not be excited to learn the Nigerian national anthem. If
Hmm.
all they ever hear you say about Nigeria is, my kids have been here in Canada longer than Nigeria. They came
Hmm.
at 3, my son is
Okay,
now
material,
almost
of
10.
course. Yeah.
So he has more first-hand knowledge of Canada than he does Nigeria.
Then
So everything he
Nigeria.
knows about Nigeria is what we teach. So
Hmm.
imagine that every time he hears about Nigeria is when we're insulting the president, or talking about the things that are not working, or talking about all the things that are wrong.
Yeah.
You're selling them the wrong picture. So
Exactly.
how then would they have a heritage that they are proud of to come out and say,
Exactly.
no, that's not where I'm from. That's not how it
Hmm.
happened. So
That's not
we
how
have to really watch those
you have to
conversations
really.
and make sure that we're projecting things properly. Some things
Hmm.
are not working, but some things work. So create a
Exactly.
balanced picture.
Create a balance.
It's not like
Absolutely.
Canada is perfect. Canada has its own flaws. So you can't
Absolutely.
project the positives in one side and only project the negative
Project the
where you're from.
negative on the other
Don't do
side.
that.
Yeah. No, no, absolutely. Very good. Um, we're almost coming to the end here. Great conversation, lots of great tips. Thank you so much, Marina. I'm just gonna look here and take some questions. If you're here and you have any question around what we're talking about, coming to Canada, the first one that I see here, I'm just gonna pop it on screen. Please, I have 3 kids, 16, 14, 11. Can I come to Canada with the 14 and 11 years old kid? You could actually come to Canada with the three of them. It depends
With
on
all of
how
them.
you're looking to come. If you're looking to come as a student, you can come with them. If you're applying for permanent residence and you get approved, you can also come with them to Canada as well. As long as they have all their passports. I think there was another question about what documents you need. They have their passport, they have their birth certificate to prove that you're the parent. Very important. If this is a single parent situation, you need a letter of authorization from the other parents, that a letter of consent from the other parent authorizing you to travel with the children to Canada. That's very important in that process as well. And then, of course, have enough money to cover those children coming with you. If you're coming to study, any additional dependent accompanying person plus you is additional 4,000 for the first person and 3,000 for the subsequent ones that come along. If you're coming through permanent residence, there is settlement funds that is required for any family size. So look at what your family size is. If it's five, if it's four, you want to know exactly what that amount is, and then you try to make sure you have that to be able to come with them. I hope that answers your question. Okay, the next question that is here is this one. Marina, you could take this one. Can kids join in the middle of school section? So if an international student starts in winter, when can the kids join?
So I would say it depends on the class that the kid is trying to get into. If they're from like grade 1 and above, they'll be able to join school at any time in the school year, because I mean, newcomers are arriving every month and their kids are able to get into school. The
Yeah.
only time I would say it doesn't really make a lot of sense to get kids into school is when you're coming, say, like the middle of June or to like the end of June. That's the end of the school year.
That's the end of the
It just
school.
won't make any sense to get them in school for a week.
Yeah.
Even though some people do it just to give the kids like an understanding of this is what the
How the school
experience will be
system
like
is.
for the new school year.
Yeah.
But other than that, there's no reason why they can't start when you land.
When you land.
The only time it will most likely be an issue is if they're trying to get into like preschool or kindergarten. Those schools are usually at that age, it's usually on a first come, first serve basis, and they can get full really quickly. So
Really
if there's
quickly.
no room for the kids to get into the preschool class, then they
Yeah.
will not be able to get in. Or if
Yeah.
kindergarten is full, they do it in a way that you can attend at like alternate days in the week, like Monday, Wednesday, and every other Friday. If the class is full, then you might not be able to get in. But for grade 1 and above, they're able to get in
That's
at
good.
any time that you arrive.
That's really good. Yeah, anytime that you arrive, they'll be able to get into school. It's all fine. There. I think Joe has a follow-up question here. So what of proof of ties to your country? We have a lot of clients that have arrived with their children. And there has been this misconception that you need to leave your children behind in order to prove ties that you're going to go back home. There are about 5 things that you could use to prove ties to your home country. The first thing is your family, of course. And the second one is a business. Do you have employment? Do you have landed assets? Do you have financial assets? Any of these things that you have with a strong study plan to show that you have plans to return to your home country at the end of your study, those things also help and don't have to be your kids that you're leaving behind as ties in order to convince the officer that you'll go home. We have tons of clients that have come with their whole family. Like we have a family of 5 that arrived this week, another family of 3. These are people that had all of these things in place. They had other things beyond family that is considered still very important to them that they wouldn't just leave behind, but will go back to Nigeria. In addition to a very strong study plan, a strong study plan is one that really shows the need for the education you're coming for in Canada and how it's going to benefit you in your home country. Should Canada not work out for you to be here permanently, they want to see that you have options to go home and work with the education that you're coming for here. So it's not just one thing, but it's a couple of things combined together that really makes a strong application. Leaving your kids out on its own is not a reason for the officers to say, oh yeah, this person has strong ties, we're going to give them the visa. No, there's so many other things that you can do with your application to make that strong enough. Okay, perfect. Kachuku has this question. Coming as an international student with the kids 6 and 7 years, do I still need to show daycare alongside my POF? So that question you're asking, if you're coming with kids 6 and 7 years are not really in daycare anymore, Marina. They're not. They're like, my daughter is going to be 6 this December. She's already in kindergarten. 7 years, that's like your grade 1, grade 2. So you don't necessarily need to have your cost is less. You'll probably be looking at like before and after, depending on where you're working.
That's just what I was
And
going to
before and
say.
after is a lot more affordable. It's like 200. It's like in Saskatchewan, is a lot more affordable for that. But it's always really important to take overall, like look in the city you're going to find out what this cost is and take that into consideration when you're showing your financial documents and things like that. IRCC has that minimum 3,000 of minimum. This is what you need to have and stuff. But we always advise our clients have more than that, because if you have kids that will be going into daycare and things like that, thank God there's a $10 a day now that a lot of provinces have adopted, which is helping. But even at that, you still want to make sure that there's enough extra money to show that if you needed childcare, you have enough money to cover that. So they might not, they wouldn't need daycare for sure, but they may need before and after. So if your classes start before the like really early in the morning that you have to start, you might need a place to keep them, and that's where that before is. And then after is, most schools here end about 3:30, 3:20, 3:30. So if you're at school between that time till maybe 5, you can have a place that you'll keep them at. So that's something to be aware of. Okay. I hope that answers. The next question that I have here, I think this would be a good one. Can kids join the French immersion school at any grade and they don't have a French school background? I don't really know much about French immersion because my kids are not. And for me, I made the decision for my child not to be, just because at the time they had a little bit of speech delay and I wanted to just focus on one language and not complicate things. But I'm not sure if there's a timelines with the school system. Marina, are you aware of any deadline to join French immersion?
So it has to be grade 1 from what I've heard.
Mm-hmm.
Has to be grade 1. That's why if the kids are younger when they come here, you have a higher chance of getting in. After grade 1, I don't believe they can get into French immersion. I know that's how it is in Saskatoon. For the few times that I've asked, and the parents that I know who had their kids in, they have to get in from grade 1. And they don't need to have a French background. The other question, they don't need to have a French background, but they have to get in at grade 1 or they might not be able to get in.
Perfect. Okay. Thank you so much for that. Yeah, someone said something here. Edwin said something. He said coming with kids can be very challenging. You come first and be stable before you bring them over. That's another strategy that a lot of people use, because it's not all rosy on that, especially like Marina talked about when she came. Like if you have to work or have to go to school, it could be expensive, which is why again you have to have enough money and factor in the cost of childcare where you are. If you're not there yet, then you want to pace it. You can come first. You can still work on getting the visa for everybody if you're able to afford and have all it takes. And then when they arrive, I've had clients who have done that where they don't bring all their children at once. They come first, settle, find a house, figure out things, get their footing down, and then they go back and bring. And I also have those ones that come all at once with their family and then figure it out as they're going along. The key, I would really say, is have enough money, just so then you're able to have some wiggle room. And like Marina said, build a support system the moment you get in. Have people build a support system of people that you know that you can trust, that the kids could be friends with, and things like that. It goes a long way to help as well. Yeah. Okay. Rena has a question for teenage kids. What plans can immigrant parents make on arrival to prepare them for when they get into university? Marina.
I would say how old are these teenage kids? Because 13 and 18 are teenagers, but they are completely different points in their education journey. If you landed here and say 1 year later your child is ready for university, it means that what kind of relationship did you already have coming here? Because Canada is not automatically going to change anything. At the end of the day, your family unit, you are still going to replicate here, regardless of where you are. So what kind of relationships do you already have going on? Do you have the relationship with your kids where they're able to talk to you about stuff, where there's that open communication? They can come to you with how they're feeling and things like that. Do you already have that relationship going? If you do, that's going to be an advantage. If you don't have that going, it may be a bit more of a struggle, because university here is very fast paced. It's very heavy when it comes to the volume of work that they do. But there's also room to play a lot, because universities, like for some people, their first real taste of, I don't have to answer to my parents every day, especially if the kids are in a university that's away from home. Very typical with what's in Nigeria. Very typical. Like you travel away from your parents to go to university. Chances are the Prince Fowowe is a family life therapist that I follow, and something he says is you do child training from year 1 to year 18. Anything after year 18 is your report card. Whatever you see after 18 is proof of the
It's
quality
your
of what
report
you
card,
did.
full stop. Yeah.
So, however way they turned out, it's almost like a proof of what has been happening the whole time. So, a lot of it boils down to relationship, boils down
Yes.
to what kind of family unit do you have going, what is acceptable in your family, and how much have you been able to drill down on those values so that wherever they go, no matter how far away from home they are not walking away from those things. Another
Exactly.
thing that I've seen parents who have university age children do, especially among the immigrant community, is they connect their children. Like if I have a daughter who's going into, say, the U of S, for instance, and you have a daughter who's going into the U of S, if the parents know, they connect the children and just introduce them to other people
To
who
other
are within their
people.
age
Yeah.
ranges, who are doing the same thing they're doing. Some of those relationships have really helped some of the children cope with because it's just different when
It's
you're
different.
dealing with a struggle with somebody and there's somebody else who looks like you, sounds like you, similar challenges. They're able to piggyback on each other and leverage on one another. So some of
Yeah.
those relationships I've found really helped. Right? Yeah. So
Hmm.
a lot of it is relationship. Like what do you already have going? What's already going on? What kind of parenting were you guys doing the whole time? And then what exactly is the fear? What are you afraid of when they get into university? Address some of those fears with them. So yeah, that's kind of what I've seen happen with other people. I haven't been there yet. So
Yeah.
don't have
No.
first-hand experience there, but that's what
Yes.
I've seen
And
happen with other people.
yeah, no, and I really echo what you said because the same thing. I'm not there yet, but I have families that I have lived in Canada for 17 years. So I've seen people that those kids that were babies when I came, so many of them are now in universities, and I'm always very, very curious to watch how the parent dynamics work here. Because growing up and even coming here over time, you will hear people say, oh, your kids are abroad, they're going to be spoiled, they're not going to have home training and all whatnot, you can't control them, did this, and it's not true. Just like Marina said, I have some amazing examples of people who literally raise their kids here, and those kids are well behaved, they are on track, they are, they're doing the right thing, and it really, just like Marina said, it really starts from home.
True.
Because some of them, I've seen them with their family, I've seen the family dynamics, the way they work with their kids, the collaborative effort in raising the children that does exist in the home. It plays a lot in how those kids really turn out and the things that they have. So it's a
Absolutely.
system that if once the foundation is laid properly, they'll just thrive and grow on it.
True.
So whenever, I'm always very curious too, and one of the things too that you can do to help is really partner and listen to those parents and talk to those parents like are ahead of you that have older kids. The kids are doing well and all of that. Talk to them and see how they're doing it. How are they managing through the different phases and the different situations and things that come up? You will get firsthand examples and firsthand guide from that. So don't feel like you have to do it all by yourself.
True.
People are really open because we all honestly struggle a lot. We don't know what we're doing. We're just praying to God to guide us. We're going along and things like that. So
Absolutely.
yeah. Okay. Um the person said, I have a 2-year-old and a 9-month-old baby. I'm just thinking of how I can cope as an international student. I guess they fall under daycare. Yes, they would fall under daycare. So it would be important for you to find childcare for them before. I would even say try to look ahead if you already received your study permit, or even if you've not, start looking ahead to see what daycare centers exist, and if you could put your name on a wait list and things like that. It would be advisable to do that. Some universities, I schooled at the University of Saskatchewan, they have childcare that are available to students on campus. Some schools may have that. So look into that as well and see what options are. And sometimes they're subsidized for students. I think there was another follow-up question that I see here is for international students, that sometimes international students will qualify for those subsidized childcare benefits as well. So it's really to look into it and explore the options that are available when you are coming to school. Okay. We're just going to go touch on one more topic here, which is always something that is very important. Most of the times when we're thinking about kids, we're thinking about math and English. It's not just math and English. There's a lot of things that these children can do to have a lot of fun. So, Marina, what kind of extracurricular activities have you put your kids in Canada? And can you talk a little bit about the cost? Because sometimes they're very expensive. But
Hmm. You know, so this part is one area that I have not explored to the fullest. I feel like
Mhm.
there's a lot more that my family can do here when it comes to like extracurricular. And the main reason why I am not in a hurry or to force my kids to do something is because my children's needs are forever changing. Today, this is what they want to do. Tomorrow, this is what they want to do. And some of these things are too expensive for us to just be exploring everything. Sorry.
Yeah.
We are saving for college. We can't
Yes.
use all the money for we can't use all the money that we plan for university to be trying out hockey this week and try out
Okay.
basketball. Like you said, these things can be expensive. Um,
Yes.
but what we're trying to do is for us, we're paying attention. My spouse and I are paying attention and just noticing like what are the skills that come to these children naturally. For
Naturally.
some people, it might just be coding. It might just be computer related stuff, not necessarily sports. Or sports are big here. Sporting activities are big. There's hockey, there's basketball, there's baseball. Like people
Soccer.
want
Yeah.
to
There's
soccer,
everything.
they want to get into all of those things. But if you don't have a child who's interested in those kind of physical sports, what else is available? My nephew, I mentioned my cousin who landed last year. My
Mhm.
nephew just turned 15. I believe that that guy at this point has been to more Canadian cities than I have. He's playing basketball around the whole Canada. Not just because he's 6 feet 3, he's 15 years
Yeah.
old and 6 feet
Oh
3. Yes. All of
wow.
us are long like that in our family. He's that's a skill that his parents identified early on and they're helping him nurture it. He
Yes.
played basketball in Nigeria, but definitely not like this.
Not at this
Coming here
level.
now, opportunity has met skill and there's no stopping him. He's
There's no
going
That's
around Canada
amazing.
playing basketball. So it's to find what exactly are your kids excited about. They don't have to
Yes.
do what everybody's doing. The fact that everybody's playing hockey does not mean your children automatically are hockey material. Not all of us will have children who do sports, you
That's
know. So
it.
for me, I'm just noticing my kids like things that they have to do with their hands. So what kind of activities that involve craft do we get them
Mhm.
in? Some of these things are free. The
Yeah.
libraries in different cities put up
Different activities.
section workshops from time to time for kids who want to do different activities. And then if you find out, okay, you have children who are interested in sports, there are different leagues across the cities, depending on where you live. It's just to be able to find out what is applicable to children in your age range. Another struggle that I've had with most of these leagues is the timing of the rehearsals. Like you put rehearsals at 10 a.m. on a working day. How am I
Yeah.
supposed to show up?
So hard. Yeah.
Even with the swimming leagues, it's the same thing, like 10 a.m. on a Wednesday. So we
Mhm.
have to go to work to pay for the thing. Now, how am I
Pay
supposed to
for it.
pay? You know,
Yeah.
so that's the struggle that I've had with getting them signed up in like these leagues. We've tried karate because it was after school. After hours, we'll start like 7 and it was convenient. So we've done that. Not a lot of interest there, so we didn't continue.
Yeah.
Right now, my children are just at the point where most of the things they like to do are with their hands. My daughter is very crafty. She likes all those things. So that's what we're
Mhm.
exploring right now. My
Exploring.
son
Yeah.
is more analytical, more, I want to sit down and figure out processes. So we're looking at more
Mhm.
computer applications
Computer
related kind
application
of.
related. Yeah.
So that's what we're doing. That's the option
Nice.
that I'm looking at the
That's good.
moment.
That's very good, and there's a lot of them that are available. I think one thing here to even mention is these things when they open up, they fill up so
So
fast.
quickly.
Like it's like I'm having heart palpitation the day swimming is opening because my kids are in swimming because I'm like, you guys have to know how to swim. Don't be like your mom and learn how to swim when you're an adult, you know. So it's like when it opens, it fills up so fast. So you have to be aware, like if your child is very interested in a particular type of sport or activity is something you want to be aware of when it's opening, when the intake is, register them. Sometimes once you've registered them already, you're able to do that. And there's not a lot of pressure around this. It's really just like Marina said, what works for the children. I remember we had my daughter in soccer last season because her brother plays soccer and absolutely loves soccer so much. And she wanted to obviously do it too because we would go for soccer. But when we put her in, she didn't really like it that much. So she prefers gymnastics, and that's what she's doing. You know, so it's really kind of figuring out what works for them. And these things can bring opportunities and open doors for them. The reason why I'm mentioning this is because we from like back when it was always math and English science, but there's so much more, like Marina just said about her nephew who might be playing on the Canadian League, who knows when. It's like don't
Man,
limit your
love
children
that.
and don't box them into that particular section of, oh, it has to be book, book, book. There's so many other skill sets, so many other things about themselves that they can explore that can open so much doors for them when they arrive in Canada. Okay, perfect. So I think there were some questions that I missed initially here that had to do with what is the easiest way to immigrate to children with kids, and I'm going to try to pull this all together on this because we're talking about coming to Canada with children. We're already talking about you as if you're already here, you've already gotten that visa and things like that. There's a lot of steps before you actually even start looking into implementing what and I have spent the last hour talking about here, which is actually determining how you come with them. Like I said earlier on, the two ways you can come with them, either permanently or temporarily. Permanently is through one of the permanent resident stream. We have the popular Federal Skilled Worker Express Entry category of application, the economic class. You also have the provincial program. They all have their own unique requirements, and this is kind of where my consultants come in, where they can work with you to figure out exactly what you qualify for, which routes would work best for you. Now, if you're there and you've already looked and explored express permanent residence route and it's looking almost impossible or not very feasible for you, because for a lot of people it could look that way because the scores are getting really high, the programs are becoming a lot more choosy and very selective, really moving towards a labor needs type pathway to immigrate. And with immigrating permanent residence, you can't just apply for it. A province has to invite you, the federal government has to invite you. So it's not like the other types of application, like, oh, I want a visiting visa to come to Canada. You can apply at any time, and it's just dependent on if you get it or not. So if you've been on that boat and you're like, I really want to figure out another way to come, you could actually come with your family through work or through study. Work is not as easy because it's also very difficult to find employers in Canada who are willing to go through the process that the government have put in place to hire foreign workers, but it's not impossible. If you're looking and you have certain skill set, especially the ones that are in demand in Canada right now, like in tech, healthcare certifications and healthcare, childcare support and things like that, you might want to explore applying for jobs in Canada to see if you will find an employer who will offer you the job and be willing to work with you through the process. If you get a job offer and you get a work permit, you can come with your spouse and all your children at the same time to Canada. So there are people that have come through that particular route. So I always advise look for recruiting agencies that specialize with bringing in international workers into Canada. They would probably be your best, but recruitment is not a service that we offer at InfoPlace Canada. We focus more on you have the job offer, you want to apply for a work permit, come to us, we'll help you. Or you find an employer who wants to do LMIA, which is the labor market impact assessment, to get approved to be able to hire you, then come to us. We would be able to work with you on that LMIA application and things like that. So those are the things that we do on that side. Then the other option to come, I said work and study, because work and study are the ones that you can come and stay for more than 6 months. If you're coming to visit, you're just visiting Canada and leaving after 6 months. But study is the other way you can come, and you can come with your family as well. Find a school program that is aligned with your career goals, your needs, and things like that. Get admitted into the program, set aside enough funds to cover your tuition fee, living expense, transportation cost for you and your family that are coming to Canada. Look into ensuring that you have those ties that I talked about, either as landed assets, financial assets. Financial assets is money that is not the proof of funds. This is extra money after your proof of funds that you have, that you're continuing to invest in your home country before you come. Look for that. If you have that, if you have a business, get that business registered. If you have a side hustle, don't side hustle it. Get it into a formal registered business, because it does come into play a lot in proving ties to your home country as well. If you have employment, if you have your employment that you can go back to and things like that, that also are different types of ties that you can use for your application. And if you have all of this, and most importantly, sufficient funds, you would be able to immigrate to come to Canada as an international student with your children accompanying you as well. And then when you arrive, of course, you can begin walking through the process of transitioning to all of the other different things like permanent residence and even citizenship and all. So there are definitely ways to come with your family. You could come all at once, or you could pace it depending on what your financial situation looks like. It could be one person getting it first and then the rest of the family coming in later. So you need to figure out what works for you. I always tell my clients, if one person gets here, there's a good chance that the rest of the family will come. Sometimes it might just not work for all of you to come at the same time. Sometimes it might be feasible. And this again is where our consultants would analyze and really see what is the best fit for you and your family to come. All right. So that's kind of it in terms of immigrating and how you can come here. We're almost at the end here. And Marina, some last and final words. What would your advice be to any of the people listening to us or would watch this later, contemplating on leaving it all behind in their home country and making the big move to Canada? What would you tell them?
I would say never lose sight of your why. What is the reason why you're doing what you're doing?
Yeah.
What is the reason why you're leaving it all behind? For some people, starting afresh. For some people, walking away from a support system that you're familiar with to come to this place where you have to wear all your clothes at the same time in the name of winter. What is it really? What is the real reason? What is
Yeah.
driving why you're doing what you're doing? And you also have to put in context what better life means to you. Better life, I'm doing this because I want to give my children a better life. Unfortunately, some people have come here and have set their children up for failure. So what was supposed to be better life, children are ending up in jail. It's happening. Immigrant children are getting involved in drugs, getting involved in illegal activities. I mean, it's not peculiar to immigrant children. It's something that happens here, but more and more immigrant kids are getting involved in this thing. The parents who brought those children wanted better life as well, but they ended up in jail, which
Yeah.
means that beyond just getting them here, there's work you need to do to make sure that you're actually setting them up for success.
Yeah.
For some people, when I went to university, my parents paid. That's what's typical in Nigeria and most African countries. Like you
Yeah.
go to university, your parents are paying out of
Good for
pocket.
you.
It's
Yeah.
not typical here for the average Canadian child to go to school and their parents pay. They use student loans. But
Yeah.
when you come out of university, imagine graduating after 4 years and you're already 60,000
Living
dollars
in
in
debt.
debt. That's how life is starting for them. If you, who had your parents pay for your education, you came out of university owing zero, you now put your children in this place, you don't plan appropriately, then they go to university and come out $50,000 in debt to start their lives. Did you really set them up for better life? So we really need to put that in context. What does that mean?
Yeah.
And in putting it in context, it means you have to be making plans to make sure that you are actually setting your children up for better life. For some of us, it is the way discipline is done. That's what you need to change. In
Yeah.
Nigeria, the way I was disciplined, if I discipline my children like that here, I'll be setting them up for a generation that has passed.
Yes.
What I was taught was respect is when you're talking to an adult, you look down, you don't look them in the eye, you don't talk back. That's what I was told respect is. If you tell a child today, when you're talking to an adult, look down, don't look them in the eye, don't talk back, your children will say yes to everything. Is that what you want? They are going to be called not confident, they are going to be called
Exactly.
timid, and they will be bullied. So we have to redefine some of these values. Some
Very
of us,
important.
we have to do away with the components of our culture that is not relevant here. Not
Yes.
everything that is
Unlearn.
applicable in Nigeria is applicable here.
Yeah.
You must be willing to make that change. You must be willing to sacrifice yourself because you are going to be your children's guinea pig. They will learn from you. If they're
Yeah.
going to start to learn to question things, they will start to question you.
You.
If you're
Exactly.
telling them to stand up for themselves, they will stand up for themselves against you. And you
Exactly.
must know when to say, this is the reason why we're doing it. You have to start to get comfortable getting questioned. You have to start to get comfortable explaining things as against saying, because I say so. That's not going to help
That's
you.
not an answer.
It's not going to help you. You must start to build intentional relationship with your children. If you don't know what to do, seek for help.
Yes.
Ask for help. There are resources everywhere. You just need to be asking the right questions. You need to be
Yeah.
talking to the right people. If you come here and you say we're only going to eat Nigerian food, our friends are Nigerians, we go to a Nigerian church, we only wear Nigerian clothes. When your children go to school in the lunchroom, when there's no jollof rice and efo on the menu, what do you want them to eat?
Mm-hmm.
So don't do it in a way that you're narrowing the point of view of your children. Open their mind, expand their minds. And in expanding, if you want your children to have an expanded point of view, it has to start with you. So you
Absolutely.
have to be exploring things that are outside what you typically would do, just because you're creating the room for your children to be able to be open to possibilities. Canada is a land of possibilities. It's not
Yes.
going to get served to you. Nobody's going to bring it to you for free.
You
What
have
you're
to go
able to
looking for it.
access is what you are going out to look for. It is intentional work, you guys.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to do it by yourself. That's where help comes in. That's where having conversations with people come in. Right now, I am offering that help to people if you want one-on-one, if you want to have conversations just to talk about these things relating to settlement. I don't know what to do. I don't know where to start all of this settling into
Exactly.
life in this new place. By all means, you can reach out to me and talk to me. I'm doing that. I had to get help as well. I've taken counseling. I've gone through counseling. I've gone through training just to relearn how do they train children in this new place, because I realized that my information
It's
is
different.
limited. My
Yeah.
knowledge is limited. And admitting to yourself that you don't know it all and being able to be open enough to learn is one way that you can start to beat this. Because again, Canada is a land of possibilities. It's a land where positive opportunities abound. But when there are positive opportunities, it also means that the devil is lurking around. The negative opportunities are there as well. And how you
Exactly.
manage them is what is going to determine what area your children tilt towards. It's a lot of work, but it's very possible. When you set these children up for success, there's no stopping them, you guys.
There's
It's
no.
going to be
Yeah.
worth it in the end. I can assure you that. If you put the work, I go for attend graduation of my friends' children in like high schools. You see honor rolls. Go and check 80% immigrant names. Go and check.
Yes.
So I'm telling you what is possible. Our children can actually fly to the highest. There's no stopping them.
As
But
long
we
as,
need to
yeah.
first step back and put into context what better life means and put all of it in context and do the work towards it. It's very possible. Don't be afraid. It's going to be overwhelming. Yes, we've all been there. It's still overwhelming to me 6.5 years later. Florence is here, 17 years. It can still get overwhelming.
It's still overwhelming,
So you're not going
honestly.
to be able to figure everything out by yourself.
Yeah.
That's where community comes in. That's where collaboration comes in. We're
Comes in.
always going to be better together. Isolating yourself, major disadvantage. Reach out
Reach
and
out.
get the help that you need. All of it
No.
is possible.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you so much, Marina. I'm sure that a lot of people will have so much to learn from this session, and it's literally it's not all. We can't stay here for hours, right? And that's kind of
Absolutely.
where basically Marina is offering this service where you can actually talk to her one on one more on this particular topic of settlement coming over with your children. There's a lot of things. There's a lot you can also read online, but also be very careful about the source you're reading from as well, because
Absolutely.
not everything is something that you should consume or believe to be what the outcome is here. You can come here with your children and definitely achieve that better life that you hope that they will get. There's so many immigrant children in Canada that are going ahead and breaking records and doing so many
Absolutely.
things. So you have to believe in yourself as well that it's going to be positive, it's going to be a great experience, and that has to be echoed out to the children. Marina talked about why. With my kids, I have 9 and 5. I'm always answering why every day. It's like my full time duty. I have to answer. If and I don't answer, if he said something and I'm like trying to no go and do that, I say, but mommy, answer my question first. And that like I wouldn't say I've said that to my parents growing up, but I love that he does that because I pause and I realize that I should recognize him because I want him to know when he goes out there that if you're talking to someone, they should pause and listen to you. You
True.
deserve to get the attention. So I pause to give them the attention. So
Absolutely.
it's just it comes in the littlest of things with these children as they're growing to build and cultivate that. And if we're saying all these things and you're like, oh my God, I've not done all these things with my children, I'm not even talking to them, I'm not been answering their why, it's never too late.
True.
You can still start. You can start now. You can start by reading. You can start by figuring out ways. I listened to this podcast. It's been so instrumental for me. Okay, guys, that's my husband with his Google Home. He has turned off the lights in the house automatically. So that's why the light just went dark in my office. But anyway, you could listen to podcasts. I listen to this podcast, Focus on the Family. It's been so, so helpful
I
to
absolutely love them.
unlearn. I love them so
Absolutely.
much, to unlearn everything that we have had or seen on how to raise kids and how to manage the things that the kids bring to us, because they are their own unique beings. So as long as you have that solid foundation, they can achieve the success and that better life that you're hoping to bring to them in Canada. Now, I'm just
Mhm.
going to paste here for people that have more questions and even want to have more chat with Marina on this particular topic. I'm going to paste the link here to her calendar where you can actually schedule a session with her. And if you're here, you have questions about how you can actually immigrate to Canada with your children, that's where we come in at infoplacecanada.ca. You can actually book a consultation with one of my consultants. I'm just trying to type the link here. Um, book a session with one of my consultants, and they'll work with you on your unique pathway, what would work for you, what will be beneficial to you and your family as a whole. And if you found this session really helpful and very informative, and you have people, you have friends that are looking to immigrate, exploring this whole Canada thing, and you've heard many crazy things and we've said different here, share this with them. That's really where it starts, in really making sure as many people as can hear the right thing, the truth about what happens. Then that's kind of where you want this to go and have it. It's going to be reshared on YouTube here. It will be there and you can watch it as well.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for joining us. And thank you so much, Marina, for doing this.
I'm
Uh,
glad.
Absolute pleasure having you here, and always a pleasure listening to you. Thank you so much, and have a great weekend, everyone. Take care. Bye bye.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Yeah, bye bye.